What if I told you that Google just made the biggest design change to Android in years and almost nobody's talking about it? But what it really means is for developers is this is huge, right? Yesterday at their Android show, Google unveiled Material 3 Expressive, the most radical redesign of Android interfaces since 2014 Material Design. But beneath all the fancy animations and springy UI elements lies something much more significant, a fundamental shift in how Google thinks about mobile interfaces. This isn't just a fresh coat of paint, it's a completely new foundation that will force developers to rethink everything they knew about Android app design. And if you're not prepared, your apps will suddenly look outdated by the end of this year. Now, Google dropped some amazing new stuff at the Android show with the announcement of Material 3 Expression, a completely reimagined design library for Android 16 that represents the biggest visual overhaul in nearly a decade. So I'm going to break down exactly what this means for developers, users, and future Android app designers, and let's dive in. Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer, and here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our coding boot camps, as well as to build custom software solutions for companies. Having a hard time getting that out today. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, so Google is calling this the biggest redesign in years, and for Android, and this complete rethinking of the visual language across the entire operating system. Now, Material 3 Expressive introduces a dramatic shift in philosophy, moving from the flat, minimalistic approach of material design to something far more dynamic and engaging. The redesign isn't limited to just Android phones. It spans the entire ecosystems, including tablets, foldables, watches, and Wear OS 6, and Google's own apps. So every visual element is being reimagined. Typography, colors, shapes, animations, transitions, and even fundamental layout patterns that developers have relied on. Now, I've worked with mobile platforms for a long time, and I haven't seen Google make such a comprehensive design overhaul since the original Material Design launch in 2014. This signifies a critical inflection point where apps that don't adapt quickly will immediately look outdated and disconnected from the core platform experience. Now, the most striking aspect of Material 3 Expressive is the emphasis on natural, springy animations that make interfaces feel alive and responsive. Google's completely rethought how UI elements interact. Let's jump over to their video, and I like to show this video here really quick that they're talking about, and I'll give my thoughts on this after the video here.
There's so much great new stuff coming to Android, and we showed a ton of it in the first ever special I/O edition of the Android show. First, we unveiled a fresh new design system coming to phones and watches.
We call it Material 3 Expressive, the biggest evolution of our design language in years.
Then we demoed the latest Gemini breakthroughs.
I can switch to sharing with my camera, and I can get some tips from Gemini. Okay, well, I don't even know what I'm looking at. What does this makeup do?
The sponge is for blending, the bottle is foundation for your skin tone, and the small jar is concealer for blemishes or dark circles.
And how we're bringing Gemini to the rest of your Android devices.
We're bringing personalized smart help wherever you are, on whatever Android device you're using.
All while keeping your devices safe and secure.
Starting today, I can check Find Hub to see if my loved ones got home safe and share my location during a night out in a single unified space.
And they even let this guy talk about his favorite Android device innovations. This is the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. The Pixel 9a offers more than you'd expect for less than you think. And this is the new Motorola Razr Ultra. This is the Nothing 3A Pro. Make sure to watch the full show. You won't want to miss it.
So some cool stuff coming there for sure. That's pretty exciting. So now let's kind of dive into this a little bit here and show some of this. So what is material expression? And so it talks about components, the topography, the physics systems, and expanded shape library, right? Definitely see lots of springy UI here on, on their page. So talking about the design, the customization, adaptive layouts. This is a really interesting one that I think is going to be really cool. It's a new Figma 3 kit. So you actually can then use these design kits in your Figma designs, which is really cool. So this will make it a lot easier to do app design directly to what's going to be looking like. Now, so it goes into this, and we're not gonna break all of this down here today. I mean, we're gonna get into a lot of this, but let's talk a little bit more about some of this. So, the design introduced what Google calls shape morphing, which is fluid transition where UI elements transform from one shape to another rather than simply appearing and disappearing. These aren't just surface level changes; they represent a fundamental shift in how Google is going to do their design. So this philosophical shift towards emotional design puts tremendous pressure on developers to completely reimagine how their apps feel, not just how they look. Now, the Apps 3 Expressive introduces serious depth in Android's interface through strategic use of background blur effects that were previously rare in Google's design language. The quick setting panel, notification shades, and recent multitasking view all now use blur to create a sense of layering and preserved context while navigating the device. So this represents a major shift, a reversal from the flat design principles that Google had championed for nearly a decade with material design. Now, this is going to be interesting to see how this compares against iOS, right? It'll be interesting to see if this really launches forward, and I'm going to be curious to see how some of this will work with Flutter as Flutter starts to work the Material 3 Expressive into it. Now, typography receives a radical overhaul with Material 3 Expressions as well, introducing new type styles for both variable and static fonts. Now, Google's created a system where typography automatically adjusts variables for readability while supporting bold editorial layouts previously impossible on Android's design systems. Now, this evolution creates both opportunity and risk. Apps that embrace these new typography capabilities will stand out, while those who don't will look increasingly dated. Now, if your company systems are starting to feel dated and you don't have systems that are connected, reach out to us, because here at Startup Hack, we'd love to help companies get their systems working and integrated to help you save, reduce time, cost, and money. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer, because we'd love to help you out. Now, in Material 3 Expressions, I always want to call it Material Expressive 3, but Material 3 Expressive introduces a set of 35 new shapes for avatars, image groups, and decorative elements. The built-in shape morphing animation system allows for smooth transitions from one shape to another. Now, these new shape possibilities represent another layer of visual expression, and that's why you see here on the screen, as we see these, everything's about morphing from one into another. Now, I'm sure these are videos, but what it looks like that we're seeing here is where we're seeing a lot of these start to go into place, right? So we can actually start to look at some of the components. Let's look here at some of the components. So you see how things pop out, right? So instead of just so there we go. See how that popped in, popped out. You can see the pop in, the pop out. So instead of just this slider or something, right, like we can see these actual effects here. So this will be really interesting as we work with this, because we're seeing these, start to become a little bit more interesting, right? Now, Material 3 Expressive dramatically expands the range of colors available to sharpen hierarchy and clarify key actions throughout the interface. The dynamic color scheme theming introduced on Android 12 has been enhanced and extended across the entire system. So developers who leverage this expanded color system effectively will create more intuitive, distinctive experiences that feel deeply integrated with the platform. Now, live updates that change the notification game. One of the most significant functions changed in Material 3 Expressive is the introduction of live updates, a completely new way to track progress notifications from select apps. This feature gives certain types of apps, delivery, rideshare, navigation, etc., privileged access to a persistent, glanceable UI element that tracks real-time progress. Let me see if I can find one of these for you really quick here, find an example. So you can see how these things start to move across the screen, right? We start to see this live update. This feature gives certain types of apps, this ability to do these live type of updates, right? See how it comes moving across. Now, I've seen many new notification paradigms, but like this, that can completely reshape our expectations. And this feature shows Google's recognition that certain high-priority, time-sensitive information deserves special updates. And this live update system creates both opportunity and pressure for developers in relevant categories to completely rebuild their notification approach. And I think this is going to be pretty game-changing to be able to see it. Now, Wear OS also gets a lot of these updates, right? And for the first time, Google's bringing major design language updates simultaneously to both phone and watches with Wear OS 6. Google announced that the Material 3 Expressive will come first to Pixel devices, of course, and then later come with Android 16, creating a relatively tight timeline for developers to adapt. So while Google hasn't specified exactly when other devices will receive the updates, the pattern of previous Android releases suggests that it'll be a pretty rapid rollout across major manufacturers. Now, I've found that early adopters of new design languages gain significant advantage of both visibility and user satisfaction. Google's likely to heavily promote apps that showcase the new design language effectively in the Play Store. The overlap with the holiday season means apps that aren't updated by Q4 2025 risk looking outdated during the most important revenue period of the year. So the technical implementation of Material 3 Expressive will require developers to use updated versions of the Material Components library and potentially Jetpack Compose. These requirements may force developers to learn teams to upgrade dependencies and potentially refactor significant portions of their code base. So the heavy emphasis on fluid animations and transitions will also make greater performance demands on apps, requiring optimization to work to maintain smoother frame rates. So we can definitely have, having led technical teams through major platform shifts, I can tell you these implementation details often represent the most significant challenges in adapting to new design languages. Now, I'm a huge Flutter fan, right? And so Flutter is definitely going to get the love on this too. So never fear, because Google is definitely keeping an eye on this. So support is made available for Material Design 3 as part of this, right? And so Material 3 design for deployment, Material 3 GitHub, build animation responsive layout, all of this is built with Flutter. So the Flutter.dev UI toolkit is going to work with the Google Material 3. So this is really exciting. So those of you who are using Flutter, which I hope a lot of my listeners are, because Flutter is awesome. We definitely use it on all of our production level apps. This is going to get that love as well. So they didn't leave Flutter out this isn't just for native. This will be for Flutter as well. So Apple is rumored to begin its own major redesign as part of iOS 19. But as always, Apple's behind the curve on this. Google and Android are ahead of the game yet once again in the mobile development. If you want my opinion, since Android has come out, I believe they have been ahead of the game. They've always been ahead, and Apple's always been playing catch up. Now, companies that fail to adapt, like iOS, are going to fall behind, and I think we're going to see the iOS apps start to look dated pretty quickly. I know I'm going to get a lot of flame here for that, but I feel pretty passionate about this. Android's been ahead in almost every single major innovation since it has released. And if you don't believe me, I've been an Apple fanboy, or an Android fanboy, not an Apple fanboy, for a long time. So I was digging through a box the other day and I came across my old original Droid, right? This is the old original here. I even got one of the extended batteries because I wore this thing out so badly. But this is actually one of the original Droids with a little D-pad and everything here. Physical keyboard. I loved this thing. I used this thing for years. I think I went through 2 or 3 of them because I literally wore them out. Still actually a big fan of this design. Would love to see somebody go back to a physical keyboard. I know, I'm outdated. But this is like, I'm this much of an Android fanboy. This is the very first original Droid, right? When you boot it up, it'll say Droid. I don't know. It may not, because I hacked it about 20 different times with about 20 different ROMs. Because here at Starter Pack, we love to hack things. That's part of where we came from, right? So originally hacking a lot of these Android ROMs. So I can tell you that one of my favorite things about these old Androids was the custom UIs and the custom ROMs that you could get on these things. And this dated all the way back to here. So I think it's really Google going back to their roots with this to really push design. And so yet again, I think this was better than the iPhone at the time, and I think Android has been ahead ever since. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get a ton of flame for that, but man, this thing was rad. I loved this thing. So as a very staunch, long-running Android fan, I'm really excited by this because I think this is going to be huge for Android, and I think it's definitely going to put them ahead. I'm going to be interested to see how, as we develop this and as Flutter gets released and we start getting Flutter apps, how this will look on iOS to see this, cross-compile across to iOS. Now, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. Do you think I'm just being an Android fanboy? Do you think I'm unfairly ripping on Apple here? Love to have the comments. Love to have a healthy discussion. Leave your comments down below. Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers and to build custom software solutions for companies. We love to provide awesome opportunities, especially if you're looking to integrate some real AI agents into your workflows. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer and here's some great information.
Hi, my name is Spencer Thomason, and I'm a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and a solid 25 years in software development, I've mastered the art of transforming technology teams and products. So what is a fractional CTO? This is where you can contract someone like myself to come into your organization and get the benefits of a seasoned CTO without having to employ me full time. In today's fast-paced world, efficiency, security, and product scaling aren't just goals, they're necessities. My passion is building impactful products and enhancing organizational efficiencies through technology. From startups to small businesses, my approach leverages lean methodologies to not just meet but exceed your strategic goals. Whether it's through executive mentoring, cloud system architecture, or launching a minimum viable product swiftly, My aim is to make a significant impact right from the start. Recognized in the Arizona startup ecosystem, my journey has been about creating value and fostering innovation. I have led technology for companies like GoDaddy, SRP, and Wells Fargo and turned challenges into milestones. I've taken this learning and launched 7 of my own brands, and now I want to help you. So if you're looking for a fractional CTO who brings a wealth of experience, strategic vision, and a proven track record, let's connect. Together we can build technology that not only drives your business forward, but also makes a difference. Technology leadership redefined to fit your needs. So reach out today.